Wow, there's just so many. I don't know where to begin. An array of opportunities for career paths awaits you after a life at SOAS.
Hello and welcome back to Future You, the podcast brought to you by graduate careers experts Prospects. I'm your host, Emily Slade, and in this episode, we take a look at the LLM Master of Law programme available from SOAS University of London.
Hi, my name's Dr. Michelle Staggs Kelsall. I'm co-director of the Centre for Human Rights Law and an academic in the Law Department at SOAS University of London.
Are you able to give a brief overview of the LLM Master of Law programme available?
Absolutely. The Master of Laws programme at SOAS is like no other currently offered in the United Kingdom, although I would say that, wouldn't I? In keeping with SOAS's deep commitment to the Middle East, Africa and Asia, and countries outside of Western Europe and North America more generally, the study of law at postgraduate level provides students with the opportunity to engage with law from the perspective of non-Western peoples the world over. This being said, the program doesn't see this engagement as one-sided and, of course, includes components of traditional master's courses in law, such as comparative constitutional law, international law, human rights, environmental law, commercial law, and trade and development. What distinguishes SOAS from other universities is that these aspects of law are situated in their inter-sovereign and interrelated context, whether it be understanding informal trade relationships in the Democratic Republic of Congo, criminal justice in China, gender dynamics in law in Southeast Asia, or the International Court of Justice's decisions on the plausible risk of genocide in Gaza. So in other words, there's no one-size-fits-all to law at SOAS. A Master's in Law provides you with a window onto law in action across the globe and the opportunity to think about why that really matters.
Yeah, amazing. So what is SOAS's approach to the study of law?
Well, like the degree itself, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to studying law at SOAS. Our school comprises researchers from a number of scholarly traditions and offering a variety of scholarly approaches to law. Many of us ourselves are from the regions we research on, be it West Africa, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South and Southeast Asia, China, the former Yugoslavia, Palestine, or Egypt, just to name a few of our faculty. And I would say that what unites us is our commitment to understanding law in the context of where it's being practiced, seeing it as plurally constituted, and including always non-Western approaches, with a strong sense of justice at the heart of our research, despite remaining critical and offering a critical approach to the study of law. And many of us too are engaged scholars, by which I mean that we have policy and practice networks with which we continue to undertake projects. We have scholars engaged with supporting social justice movements in Palestine, Thailand, and Sudan, as well as leading scholar practitioners in commercial arbitration in Africa, working across African states, just to give some examples.
Perfect. Can you talk a bit about the research environment? What's that like at SOAS?
Yes, we really encourage what we'd say is a transdisciplinary approach, which is just a fancy term or fancy way of saying that we want to see law from the perspective of lots of different fields and disciplines, be it history, politics, sociology, anthropology, or even the arts. We want to think about law understood in new and distinct ways, as well as being critical and engaged in our research. And I suppose I don't like to be too immodest, but our faculty does include leaders in their fields, be it constitutional law, international law, environmental law, or commercial and economic law, to name a few. You're joining a law school that we're really trying to be at the cutting edge of the academic scholarly research that's out there in law. And many of us have won multi-awards for our publications from a number of different sources, both in the UK and internationally. My own work on disordering international law, to give us one example, has been looking at how processes, norms, and conventions, principles in international law are currently determined, and how we might yet be thinking about that, looking at different spatial and temporal orders. So thinking about law beyond states, for example, to reframe how legal order is constituted. So to give us an example, one of the things that international lawyers are very concerned about is the practice of state. How do government officials make statements, and what import or what weight should we give them? So how would we understand the tweet from that in that perspective when government officials or diplomats are tweeting each other? What form does that take, and how will that change our understanding? What was traditionally diplomatic tables, which of course don't exist or are rarely used in the same way in the 21st century. Also, how do we understand time from the perspective of Indigenous peoples? And what does that do to our understanding of legal time, or what counts, what events count in law? So these kinds of questions come up in my own research, and it's had quite a good impact. I've been invited to speak both in the United States and in Germany. So I'll be doing a webinar in Max Planck Institute in Heidelberg. And I'm also going to Stanford University next month to talk about Indo-Pacific regional order as part of that. So it's just different ways of understanding law, different approaches that emerge from the research that essentially having an impact in the world at large.
Yeah, amazing. What career paths can students expect to follow following graduation?
Wow, there's just so many. I don't know where to begin. An array of opportunities for career paths awaits you after a life at SOAS. I mean, it's really in part related to how we understand the age and stage that we're living through as the globe, as a planet. So, of course, at the moment, the world is facing a situation of polycrises, whether we think about climate crises, climate migration, one, or biodiversity loss, or the economic problems associated with conflict more generally, or economic issues. And all of these concerns essentially are going to be introduced to you through your study of law at SOAS. And responding to those polycrises require a depth of understanding and knowledge that will shape the way you understand how you can then use your degree. So to give an example of the kinds of things that people have done after a degree at SOAS, we have everything from people starting their own non-governmental organizations or NGOs to ensure justice movements are supported in the countries from where they've come. So one of our students runs a very important and impactful non-governmental organization in Libya. We have another student or several students who are working in United Nations organizations and at different parts of the UN. We also have students who go on to commercial arbitration practice in their home jurisdictions, be that in West Africa or Southeast Asia. We also have students who are determined to stay in the UK, but use their time at SOAS to engage in leadership positions, be it at the bar or in law firms.
So Francesca Albanese is an alumni of yours. Can you tell us a bit about her and the work that she's doing?
Sure, absolutely. It's with great pleasure that I mentioned Francesca on this podcast, because she's both a wonderful former student and a very warm person to be engaged with. And in fact, she's coming back to SOAS next month to give an inaugural lecture for the centre that I co-direct, because she to us is really an example of what we believe to be all the things that we hope our students will go on to do. She embodies many of the principles and commitments of the school itself, in addition to her understanding, in-depth knowledge of law in operation and in context. So she's an international lawyer, and she specializes now in human rights and the Middle East. And since May of 2022, Francesca has served as the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967. And in addition to incredible scholarly engagement through which she's authored a number of publications, including Palestinian Refugees and International Law, which came out with Oxford University Press in 2020. She's considered to be as a landmark in the literature on the subject, as well as having undertaken a number of other academic works on the legal situation in Israel, Palestine, and with Palestinian refugees. Francesca brings both a commitment and passion for social justice and a desire to remain rigorous in her analysis and to maintain a strong, in-depth understanding of the role of law in operation, both what it's able to do and what it describes, the reality it describes in the Palestinian territories. And her most recent report, Anatomy of a Genocide, which she wrote in recent months, has become one of the key texts that people are utilizing to understand the situation in Gaza.
Wow, that's amazing. So why does studying law now matter more than ever?
Well, I suppose given the depth and breadth of what I've been talking about, what I'm about to say will come as no surprise to your listeners. But essentially, I would say humanity is facing perhaps its greatest existential threat to date, as the world is now entering into a period of ongoing polycrises, as understood by many, from Diverse is the World Economic Forum to grassroots social movement. Polycrises mired in conflict, climate change and migration, biodiversity loss. The challenge remains to understand both the opportunities and dangers facing the planet. And this remains ever more significant. Because really, I think we're coming to a realization that what was once perceived as a threat to globalization is now increasingly understood as the threat of globalization itself, the ongoing demand to secure resources for the few, often to the detriment of the many. And law at SOAS provides our students with the opportunity to understand the depth and breadth of these concerns and issues from a truly global and inter-sovereign, I would say, from a number of different communities' perspectives. And you'll leave us with a much better understanding of your area of expertise. You've already gathered that, or the area you want to work in if you're coming fresh out of an undergraduate degree with not much knowledge yet. And with that depth of understanding, we think that studying law matters more than ever, really, because it's in order to give you that critical engagement with the world around you and with what's happening, and be able to think about the foundation of knowledge required to understand that in new and different ways.
Amazing. Thank you. Finally, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone looking to study law?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be prepared for an adventure. Be prepared to challenge yourself and your own thinking about what law is and how it works in the world. Be prepared for a lot of reading and to expect a kind of rigor and depth in analysis, but also to be surprised and challenged by the new ways in which that helps you to see the world, and also the kinds of people that you're going to meet when you do so. I think people who tend to gravitate toward law, I mean, it tends to be sort of people who are coming both from the humanities and the sciences, or like a mix of the two, because law is both problem solving on the one hand, but it's also about persuasion. It's about understanding the aesthetics of the situation, the aesthetics of an argument as well. So you need to be both passionate and committed, but also be able to state your case and to make your claims as a lawyer. So a master's in law really opens up the door to both understand how that works, but also challenge it, think of it in ways, think about arguing in new ways, why we argue and what a critical approach to that might be.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks again to Michelle for their time. For more information on the course, check out the show notes below. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you, as always, for listening, and good luck on your journey to future you.